Our guest today is the Executive Director of Metra. He has worked in the railroad industry for 40 years. Our guest today provides direction and oversight to all areas of Metra's administrative and operating programs: engineering, transportation, mechanical, safety, operations training, certification, and regulatory compliance. Ladies and gentlemen, Don Orseno. Don, thank you very much.
Good morning, or good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to thank the City Club for inviting me here today to speak. I'm not used, you have to bear with me a little bit, I'm not used to speaking to a wonderful crowd like this in such an environment. Usually there's chicken wire in front of me and there's all kinds of stuff going on. So we'll see if they start rolling in it and I start going out the back door how things are going here. But first of all, I'd like to, Marty, you've already been introduced, but I'd also like to introduce a couple members of our board. Manny Barbosa. Manny, if you'd please stand. Romaine Brown. Norm Carlson. Don DeGraff. Arlene Mulder. John Plant. Brian Reeves. Jack Schaefer. And John Zediger. As you can see, the heat's not on. One thing I'd also like to do is thank everybody, especially the appointing authorities, for these fine people. It's very hard when you start going through your list to try to appoint people to very important positions like different boards, especially the Metra board with as many things that's going on at Metra. I'd like to also thank the county chairman, presidents, commissioners, the mayor, for their support to Metra and their wonderful appointments for the people that are dedicated to keep the operation going. So thank you very much. Over the last 6 months, there's been new leadership at Metra. There's no question in the past few years we've gone through some tough times, and most of them are pretty much self-inflicted, which is sad in itself. That wasn't from the 4,500 men and women that are working every single day, operating the train and coming to work. It was because of failed leadership. And we're going to correct that. We're going to take care of that from now on, and that's been started about 6 months ago. I'm here today to tell you loud and clear that the new leadership at Metra over the past 6 months has begun instituting vital reforms, which I'll talk about. We're going to build a sustainable and successful transportation enterprise, which is nothing less than what our region deserves. Importantly, these reforms are not revolutionary. They're not something sparky. They're not sexy. It's just nuts and bolts things you ought to be doing to run a good organization. I'm going to talk about these reforms today, but before I do that, I'd like to speak on behalf of Martin Oberman, the rest of the board, and the senior leadership. We are committed to do the right thing and make the changing reforms and comply with all of the ethics and go above and beyond to rebuild the trust in this agency. Patronage will no longer be tolerated. We now require interviews and managers to certify for political affiliations that are not a factor in the hiring process. We don't want that. That's going to stop. We're looking for additional ways to make sure everyone comes through the front door. We want as many applicants as we can get through the front door, because then you're going to be able to pick the best and the brightest to move your organization forward. We're reaching out to veterans organizations, minority and women organizations for the qualified prospects. Second, we're fully aware of the task force examinations of Metra, the governor's task force, and also the state inspector general. We're confident the reforms we're already putting in place are going to comply with those reforms. And as we get the Inspector General's report, we're going to look at that and implement a lot of those changes if they're what we need to do. Once we receive the Inspector General's report, we will reevaluate all of the reforms. We want to make this a transparent, open, and honest agency and make sure that we're doing the right thing for our taxpayers. Please know that the new leadership team is open to new ideas, and reform is an ongoing process. We don't care where the reform comes from. It really doesn't make any difference. We just want to be able to do the right thing. Over the past 6 months, Metra's had made a number of reforms in governance. The board is restricting its focus to the policy making and oversight, not the day-to-day operations. That has not been done in the past. They're going to leave running the business of the railroad to the railroad people and look at the policies from a higher level, and that's what needs to happen. Committee structures. Committee structures are changing. There's no fiefdoms anymore. For example, the board's moved now to a committee of the whole for the Audit and Finance Committee. That's much different than what we had in the past. What's happened in the past, it was a selected few people that made the decisions, and some of the other people weren't involved in those decisions. That will no longer be tolerated. We're in the process of hiring a new chief audit officer. They will operate in the strictest business and accounting standards and report to all 11 board members and also the executive director. As we've migrated in the past, we had one administration where they were in control of that. Then it changed and the board was in control of that, or certain people on the board. Now it's going to be everybody in the whole making decisions and understanding what's going on. We're also starting an evaluation process for the executive director. Why, I don't know. But I told the board that I'd be more than happy to work this out for them, but they said, no, that's okay. I was busy running the railroad. They're going to take care of it for me. Anyway, for the past 30 years, there's been no process in evaluating the Metra's executive director. For 30 years, there's been no goals or performance measures. That's going to change. We're going to have goals and performance measures like we do for all employees. Today, under the new leadership, the board will evaluate the executive director. There will be clear goals and objectives, and my progress and performance will be measured. We have also begun to constitute new training programs for our board members. Today, under the new leadership, all the new board members receive a comprehensive briefing packages that are required to attend personalized meetings to go over, regardless of how much experience you have. We're going to have everybody come in, go through the training process, understand, so they really understand the operations, they understand the ethics, they understand what needs to happen. That hasn't been done in the past, at least not to that level. In our legal shop, we're transitioning work from outside firms back into the agency. This is going to save us a lot of money, and it's also going to have a much more consistency on the decisions we're making. Now, there's going to be times when we're going to have to go out for specialized things, like any big business, but we're transferring most of that work back into the company. In the area of ethics, Metra's committed to ensuring a culture of integrity and strong ethical values throughout the agency. That's from the top down. That's from the chairman of the board all the way down. We've created a comprehensive ethics manual for all employees. We're also creating one for the board. Everyone will be required to know and follow the rules at all times with no exception. In the important areas of transparency and openness, Metra has launched several new initiatives. Information to our stakeholders. That's going to be our legislators, all of the people, whether it's news people, whether it's the stakeholders that are trying to get funding for us, and that's very, very critical. County commissioners, county chairman, president, everybody. Separation agreements. We now require any separation agreement exceeding $100,000 to be reported immediately to the RTA. That didn't happen in the past. Privileged documents. We voluntarily turned over privileged documents to the Office of the Inspector General for their investigation of the agency. We didn't have to do that, but we wanted to show that we were open and transparent, so that's what we did. Reports to the news media. Chairman Overman is going to be working proactively to reach out to the news media and talk to them about some of the reforms we're making. He and I will make personal visits and let everybody know what's going on. We want to be open, we want to be honest, we want to be transparent. The Hillard Hines report. The independent, nationally respected security experts at Hillard Hines recently evaluated the operation and effectiveness of the efficiency of the Metra Police Department. I think most everybody's taken a look at that. I want to share with you that this report was actually initiated by Metra, no outside agency, nobody else. We wanted to find out how effective and efficient was our police department. The report came back and it gave us some stinging results, but that's the whole idea. If you really want to be open about it, you want to have a report that when it comes back, you can look at those challenges and look at issues that you can correct and address and make it a world-class police department. That's one of the things that we're doing. We're now hiring a new police chief. He's going to completely revamp, and he's going to look at our department and reorganize it and make us the best efficient police department we can be in the transportation industry. Under the new leadership, I hope that you see the criticism is taken to heart, and we seriously take any of those actions firmly to make sure we get them corrected. One of the other areas that's important to me, and when I was asked about taking this job, and sometimes I wondered why my hand went up, one of the initiatives was we've got a real problem with our employees and turnover of our employees, which I think anybody in this room, if they're in any large organization, has that same issue. One of the issues that we had is we're going to have a high turnover rate. We have to be able to recruit, retain, and do proper succession planning. That's one of the things that we're looking at today. We've done a comprehensive analysis of our salary structure, and that was one of the problems because we had people that were leaving the company. And there's several reasons why people leave the company. One of them is financial reasons. Other ones are because they don't feel like they've got personal growth within the company. We went out and we've got a marketplace study that shows what the salary should be. So we're moving our salary structure that's in compliance with other transit agency to make sure that our people aren't second best, that our people, if we want to retain the best and the brightest, we've got to be able to reach out to those people. We've got to be able to offer them a competitive wage, and we've also got to be able to retain them. And we want to retain them by making them part of the organization, and that's well underway and within the organization. The morale is up much higher than it has been in the past. People feel like they want to do the good job because they want to do what we used to have. And this isn't a cliche, it was more of a family environment. People feel like they have ownership in the company. That's very important for us. So as of today, we've made some salary adjustments that's consistent with our budget, and then we're going to start moving in the direction of doing that. We're also committed on that aspect of it, looking at our salary structure every 3 years. We're going to take a third of the company and every 3 years and do it. So you've constantly got the best salary structure that you can have consistent with what the industry practices are. What I've just outlined was a snapshot of what occurred over at Metra in the last few months. We have a lot more to do. Reform is an ongoing process. It's not something you just do and then put it on a shelf when the heat dies down. It's something that you live with. It's a living document. It should be a living culture in any organization. We now have a leadership in place that understands that profoundly and is committed to it to the end. We have hardworking, dedicated employees that live by that creed every single day. I've pretty much talked about right now most of the reforms that we're doing and why we have those reforms in place, and that's very important to us. I'd like to share with everybody a little bit of what we're doing on the opposite side as far as the funding for the agency, because that's very important. I know we all struggle with, the RTA funding, allocations and things like that, and really it's not about that. What it's really about, it's not fighting over the crumbs. It's trying to fund an agency, a regional agency, properly to make sure that you can take care of all your needs, whether they're infrastructure, whether they're operating cost or whatever. I have spent a lot of time in Washington and also a lot of time in Springfield trying to share our concerns about the funding challenges that we have. If we really want our organization, whether it be the CTA, whether it be PACE, whether it be Metra, to be the world-class transportation system that it can be and be able to provide economics for our 6-county area and be able to grow, not now, in the future, not 5 years, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. We've got to make decisions today to make that happen. If we aren't positioned in that way, we're going to fail. before you know it, people aren't gonna wanna move their companies into the Chicagoland area, into the six-county area, because they don't have a good transportation system. Everybody knows where transportation is strong, you've got good economics because of it. So that's some of the issues that we're working through right now. I just wanted to kind of share that with everybody, make sure they understand where we're at. And also, once again, thank everybody for coming here and knowing that Metra is committed to doing the right thing. We're changing, we're moving ahead, and the train has left the station. And I hope everybody's on it. Okay.
If you have a question for Don, we have, raise your hand, City Club P and City Club A. I can't see you. If you have a question, no RFPs, please. I have a question. Once again, Jay, it happens. All right, the moderator, who's seldom at a loss for words.
Can I shut this mic off now?
Yeah. No, that's what Delaney did with the Big Ten, and look what happened to them. So there you go. This, Mr. Randy's here. That report that came out, the governor's report, that those people are on Chicago tonight. How does Metra view that? The governor's report about allegedly combining everything together. Take 25 words or less.
That's a good question, and there's a lot of people that put the governor's report together, and I don't want to take anything away from the hard work that they did. They devoted a lot of time and effort to do what they believe was the best. I'm going to give you my personal opinion. My personal opinion is I enjoy the board the way that we have it. I enjoy being able to work in an organization where you've got a board that is solely focused on your needs and your issues, because our board is very, very much involved in doing the right thing, and when they're approving contracts and things like that, they've read all the things, they understand what's going on. I don't know how you would do that. I know it can be done, but I'm giving you Don Orseno's opinion on it.
All right. We have a question. Mike Smith, where are you, Mike? By the door. Thanks, Marty. Given your efforts to better communicate with your riders, by the way, excellent printing, has there been any discussion about developing a real-time app for mobile devices?
We're working on a lot of different initiatives right now. One thing I want to share with the group is during the winter months, specifically January 6th and 7th, we had some pretty tough times. We weren't alone. The rest of the rail industry, whether it was through Chicagoland area or all the way out east, we have challenges when you get severe cold weather, and one of the biggest common denominators we had was communication. And a lot of that is sometimes the communication that is out there isn't the communication that someone wants to hear, and other times there were areas where we didn't have good communication. We're looking at those areas. One of them is also the apps on the phone. We're also looking at incorporating into our website for real-time train tracker, not a static schedule, a more live dynamic schedule. So when someone's standing on the platform, if a train's not gonna stop, even though it's scheduled to, they'll let the people know what's going on in that area. We're looking at a lot of different things, and one of the things that I just talked about, the dynamic scheduling, that should be done by this summer. We started it last summer. Unfortunately, it wasn't done before we actually got that done. So I hope I answered your question, Mike. Thank you.
Any other questions? Well done. Don't be, you're Rosie Andolino, all those people who come there have, if we ask for RFPs right now, there'd be a stampede. Hold on. From the audience. Yes, sir.
Okay, the question was, how has the staff embraced the process of change? And on a whole, the staff is very, very good and has embraced the process of change. Nothing happens very quick in the railroad industry. I think everybody understands that. There's a lot of old ways of doing things, but I think that our organization is revitalized right now. People see the importance for change. We're going to be change agents. We're going to manage the change properly, and we're going to get everybody to buy into it. We had this conversation the other day. If you make a change, and if the person that you're making the change or is affected by the change doesn't see a positive result in a short term, they don't have as they're not is acceptable to change. They're not acceptable to that. So getting them in the process and letting them know about the direction we need to go, getting their input about the change, what we should do, you can learn a lot and you'll go a lot further, a lot faster.
Very good. How about a nice round of applause for this gentleman?